All right, so I'm trying out something new to me, not to the internet in general. And that's sort of like reading the current news or something like that, and then commenting and hopefully have a chat with you about it. So that's the goal for today. And I think I'm gonna start a little bit on the mailing lists and then perhaps go over to the diff blog and see if we find any news. So I think that will be sort of the plan. And I think that I'm gonna start sharing my screen in a different way and put myself down into the corner, and I'll have anything ready for the banners there. And this earlier today, this morning, there was this email from the Wikimedia Foundation board with an update on the board governance from the board governance committee. And I saw that, but I haven't had the time to read this because it's a long email with a lot of things in it, and it has a lot of backstory. So I thought it was going to take some time, and I've been thinking about doing this kind of format. I've seen a couple of science live streamers doing the same thing. I don't think I've seen anyone in the Wikimedia movement do this, so that's why I wanted to try this out. And this didn't work. I thought this one was on mute, but all right. Didn't show up on the stream at least, because I'm only sharing the window I'm reading from. Great. All right. So this is sent from one of the board members, Darius Yemilnak. Sorry for butchering the name there. It was sent twice. The first time, no links came through, but here comes the version with the links. So I might also click through some of these to give some more of the backstory. I'm writing this as follow up this note. All right. Sent last month. Also pasted below. Let's see where we do have it below. Is that all the way down? Is this? I don't know. Right, so I'm gonna click through instead because it's too hard to see. So let's just see what was the thing before. Do you want to translate? No, I do not want to translate. It's very good that it's in English right now. All right, so we have this coming as a response after the try for ratification of the movement charter. So this is the old one, which is a follow-up. Actually, I should put this one into the chat so that if you want to read, you can follow along. So this is the original piece of mail that we're reading. And here's the one it's referring to then. Yes, so some explanations why they didn't ratify the charter. And then there's 3 new experiments around the grants distribution, product technology, and the affiliate ecosystem, as they say. So, and this is coming after Wikimedia then. And the board of a number of different committees were sort of like working groups within the board. So they do have a governance committee. who are on that. Let's just check that quickly. It doesn't say here. That's not helpful. That would have been committee was briefly established, current charter, the membership. All right, so there's 2 clicks away. I don't want to translate that either. So here we see all the different committees, the audit committee and the governance committee. So Darius is the chair there, and then Shani, Lorenzo, and Natalia is members. And there's alternates, and Steven stuff liaison is. All right. So we know who's on that. Might of course be good to have that on a separate page, or all of them on a separate page. So they've been doing some mapping, and they want to create a charter. All right, and then they just say, oh, we're going to come back to you, and here's when they come back to us then. All right, so that's the first section, and here we also have the governance committee. So they did this mapping exercise to see the areas of the movement charter where there's broad agreement and where there's disagreement or divergence. And that's of course good. If we want to ever move forward with the movement charter, it's good to know what we already agree on, so we can sort of like take those parts out of the discussion. We reaffirm that the Wikimedia Foundation remains committed to a future charter. All right. With the goal of responsibility shifting, more accountability and decision making to representative councils and volunteer-led bodies. All right, so that's also the same direction. Although it's saying here more rather than all. Also discuss the need for a charter to not only speak to movement roles and responsibilities, but also help us navigate in an increasingly all right. And then during the ratification, it was also possible for everyone who voted to also leave some other comments. So that's this report they're referring to here. Let's take a quick look. It might be very long, so we might not read all of it here. Yes, so saying there was a vote with secure poll. 2,451 votes, and a lot of them made, so 18% of the individual voters left comments, and more than half of all the affiliates left comments. It's very nice that it was also possible to do that in any language, which of course means that more people can express their nuance they feel appropriate. And then it makes a lot of work for the recipients of the comments to actually, I mean, some of these languages are probably easy to find a good translator for, but some might be harder. And then they, right, is there some sort of summary? Primary themes. This also still just say, all right, so most about the Global Council, a bit about the process. Those were the big ones. But this also doesn't say if the comments are like, well, this is too weak or too strong. So here they break it down even more. Secondary themes. Qualitative thematic analysis. I'm not sure. All right. Seems a little bit like an oddball. Charter lacks provision regarding transparency and accountability. All right, so this is a long thing that they have gone through and tried to summarize them. All right, so let's click that away. So having reviewed that, our proposal is to ask for help in co-creation in the mapping of these 5 substantial tracks. Let's quickly just see what this page has before we move on. Purpose and scope. Identify areas of the agreement and disagreement, just as I said in the top of the email. Clarify specific proposals from themselves. All right, very good. Good to be clear. All right. And here are the tracks they used, or let's see, just the 5 areas. The external context, the purpose of the charter. All right. Ooh, and also compare to other different kinds of charters. And this will then, all right, so this mapping starting now and will go on to January 2025. And there will be a couple of in-person events that will be possible to discuss this, as well as on Wiki then. That is very nice. Oh, okay, so here they also repeat those 5 areas. External context. Identify the relevant. This is, of course, sort of important, but it feels to me like the movement charter should be standing on it, like be timeless. Like if there are some big trends, shifts in technology, of course, it should take that into account. And I think this is key, because if it's not clear what the charter is supposed to do, then it's of course really hard. Let me zoom in a little bit. I should have done that earlier, so it's easier for you to follow. And then the agreement, disagreement. And it's perhaps good to be clear here that both the individual votes and the affiliates reached the level of votes and voting for so that it would have passed. So here's the agreement, disagreement between the Wikimedia Foundation and the individual voters and the affiliates. And then, of course, there's some other within the affiliates, of course, disagreement, but as a whole, they voted for. Yes, so there was a charter text. In order to have a map, all right, so that's going in there. Let's check a little bit back again here on, since they say here, the proposals from the Wikimedia Foundation, because the board liaison's reflections before the movement charter draft was to recommend the Wikimedia Foundation board to not ratify it. So it might be good to see what specifics were there at that time. And first, some introduction here, how important this is. more about the process. And here we come to that the liaisons don't think the concerns have been met, and that they should not ratify it, but they should support to do some new steps again here. Do they say here exactly what the significant concerns? All right, here it comes. So the reflections on the final draft. So the risks and costs with the Global Council in specific, and how it was meant to function in the Charter, outweigh its potential value. Is what they think here after weighing it. And that the purpose of the Global Council is not clearly connected to advancing the Wikimedia's public interest mission. I wonder why this chose to say public interest mission and not just Wikimedia's mission. Because that's what we say everywhere else. It lacks a compelling explanation of how it ensures more equitable decision making. Which I think was implicit by having it large enough so that and having people join it from different parts. But yeah, that is a point one can raise. It also does not guide us on how to address many of the most pressing issues facing community governments on Wikimedia projects. So that's very interesting. So clearly the Wikimedia Foundation wants there in some sort of charter or in the sort of the instructions for the Global Council how community governance on Wikimedia projects should be addressed, or the most pressing issues there. Yeah, because we don't have that today. Structure and makeup has changed a lot. I think that was a clear outcome from the Wikimedia Summit. I think it sort of grew there. Form following function, common used design principle. So where you want to define the function first and then see, okay, what form is best suited for this. And here it seems to them that it was the other way around, that first, all right, how should this body look like? And then the function came after that. And then finally, they think that the values and principles that were defined in the Charter requires more consensus of communities. And it's interesting to say that even though both the affiliates and the individual voters thought these were good enough, Wikimedia Foundation still wants more consensus within the communities. I think it will be a tough challenge to reach that. All right, and then we come back to, so that's what they weren't happy with. And then they're going to compare charters. And this is probably something that could also easily be outsourced to someone to just do that sort of research. And next steps. If you have views, then you can go to on Wiki there. They will remain in dialogue. Yes, and as said before, use region conference, right, and January 2025. Yeah, and then they talk about the pilots they're doing with the Global Resource Distribution Committee, the Product and Technology Advisor Council, and these changes. All right, so one can just request a meeting if one has opinions, or use on Wiki as mentioned above. Oh, and they also have these, let's open these calls on, I think they're on Zoom and YouTube, where one can then converse with them. And I followed along a couple of them, and it seems to me that they are trying their hardest to give good answers. Also very well moderated. And I think there's also a possibility to submit questions before the actual thing if you can't join at this specific time. There's always someone on the world, because it's around where the time zone is not good, or the time slot is not good for their time zone. All right, and signed by those, and here's the other one really. All right, so moving forward, at least, and trying to do something. And I guess the time is now to chip in, so that by January 2025, they have good input. So there's something, doesn't really say what they want to pop out from this. So they're doing the mapping, but who will then write a new charter? That this does not tell. Does not even tell if they have a plan for this yet. Still some sort of interesting news. And if you didn't know, there's also, like, now we're reading this mailing list, but the mailing list in itself is public. You can you don't even need to sign up. As you see here, I'm not logged in. It recognizes I have a Swedish browser. But we can see all the messages that were sent in October and go back, and I think we can go back all the way back to 2004, so that's quite a long time. Let's just check this other piece of news, because I didn't have the time to read this. This is written by, here's wrong, this should be SV, so Swedish Wikipedia and Norwegian Wikipedia. There was a discussion on the Norwegian Wikipedia coming to the Swedish village pump, asking a little bit, and I think that's prompted this. I don't know this, but it looks like to be a PNG. So see, active editors per month, per million speakers. So we can see, oh, this red one is really interesting, because that seems to be slowly increasing over time. It never, well, it's not as quick, but it's still increasing. That's the Ukrainian wiki. Whereas we see, which was the green, it's really hard to see the colors here. I think the Swedish, here we have the right also, the Swedish is this one. Sort of coming down a little bit. The English one coming down, but it looks like it was at its lowest around 2015, 2016, and then slowly climbing. And this is really some other narrative than we've heard. You can see Norwegian wiki though, that's dropping sharply and then dropping less sharply. What is this blue one underneath it? That's the French Wikipedia. Coming up and then very stable, going up a little bit for a couple of years or months. I think you also here can see you see the mini patterns in these. You can see the local variation due to seasonality. So I think the spikes here in the Swedish one, for example, is when it's winter time and then it drops in the summer. Whereas the jaggedness, for example, in the English, which is more spread around the world, is less prominent, even there's some correlation going down a little bit in the summers. So that's an interesting graph. Polish wiki as well. What did we have? PL, that's the brown one here, being very stable. Yeah. Do we have any lessons learned? Good graph. Some more questions. Oh, also comparing it to the GDP, but not behind a paywall. All right. So these were the. Let's go to list overview. Oh, and here we come in. The HyperKitty, which is the sort of like the forum read for the reading software for the mailing list, has very many different aspects you can sort by. So you can have by month, but I think you also can look by other sorts. Here you see who posts the most. Most active, if there are threads. Now Wikimedia L is quite low active nowadays. Here's another interesting that started a week or so ago, like with a proposal to have a different ranking system on, I guess, on wikipedia.org. So where the list, because I think the list only have like the first 10 or 15 something Wikipedias, and then it says see more or something like that, and how they should be ranked there. And here I think it's a new ranking system to sort of like try to have those with a good cross coverage higher up. Assuming that an article that is in another language is important. All right. I don't think we'll take anything more from the Wikimedia L today. I don't even know how long I should be going today, but I'll go for a little bit more, maybe a full hour. Let's see what we have at diff.wikimedia.org, and we're going to go not to the calendar, but to the main page. So diff is the, no, I don't want to translate, the community blog, but sort of like maybe perhaps the movement blog, because there's also posts by Wikimedia Foundation. They're sort of more aimed to the community. They also post on their own blog on wikimediafoundation.org. Some blog posts that are sort of meant to be more outward facing. And here we see it's quite active. We have 4 posts only today. And I think let's scroll the first. Yeah, so the last 3 days is just from October. So quite a lot of things going on here. So let's just check in on the first one of these. So Wikigap is started, I think, in Sweden as the local initiative to lessen the gender gap in content on the projects, and got a really good collaboration going with the embassies of the world doing editathons, mostly around the International Women's Day. But here they seem to have been doing something recently, or maybe it's a report on something old. Let's see. All right, so so this was on September 29. Oh, and a little bit of a side note here. This is a little pop-up that you see here. Is actually a WordPress plugin you can enable for your own blog. So I think you just search for Wikipedia and you can see it, and then you can just mark something in your blog post. And I guess here they marked the Embassy of Sweden to go to the to show the pop-up for the Embassy of Sweden, and then you can go to the main article if you want to. So this is very nice to sort of like get the Wikipedia previews within your blog. All right, so this is like a first-hand report of the editathon that was in late September in Tokyo at the embassy. And the ambassador, Per-Erik Högberg, was opening. Oh, and I didn't know that there was, this is a bit ambiguous here, like, were this year or in total since they started with this? Because I think, as they mentioned here, no, it might have started earlier than 2019, but it's going on for a number of years, even crossing different governments in Sweden, where it's survived as a project. Oh, and this was the first in Japan. Okay. And there's going to be another one in 2 weeks then. And then the under is there. All right. So highly situated people talking, opening. That's very good. Some editing advice, explanation of the Wikigap. All right, so some writing. So they wrote about one of the guests. All right, it's a bit meta, but nice. So started an hour of introduction before they started editing. It's usually quite common. It might be shorter sometimes, but it's if there's something like very official, they want to take their time to open it up. Oh, and they very well staffed, I must say. If they have 10 Wikipedians in support to go around, I don't think I've been to an editathon with that many volunteers, like as editing supports. I think just under perhaps, but not full 10. So that's great show up by the local community. And we can see here the purple, and everybody got a t-shirt as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So maybe like 22, 30, 22, 25 people sitting. And I'm guessing that the support roles are not sitting, but these are the people walking around helping out. All right, writing a draft in the sandbox, always a good way to have plenty of time to think about it and don't feel rushed publishing it or losing it while editing, even though there's now better saving functions, auto save within Visual Editor while you're editing, so you might not even lose it even if your browser crashes. But it's I think it's not bad to use the sandbox. It's a way to go about it, and you also get a good sense of how it will look even after saving. And also very smart to bring some sources. Depending on where you are, it might be hard to find anything. And I guess at the Embassy of Sweden, they might not have a great library. All right, lot of writing, and then what happened in the day? People coming from far away. Did they say when it ended? Published 3:30. So it's about 4 hours. You should get a fairly decent article in that. Yes, so everybody participating got a t-shirt and a mug. That's nice. There I had lunch and then a barbecue in the evening. All right, so good time for some social connections. Looks like they used some sort of dashboard or anything to collect everything, but maybe I'm just missing that, or maybe they didn't go about it in that way. It would have been interesting to see all the things that popped out. And then there has been unusually many Wikimedia reports this year. I find it very nice to see that people take their time to summarize their experience, because you go there for a couple of days and it's very intense while you're there, and sometimes it is even easy to sort of like forget what you actually did. So taking the time to write it down, not only does it help others, but it also helps yourself to figure out, hey, what did we do, and what's important, and what do I want to do next. So it's very nice to see people doing their learnings. I want to go on a little bit of tangent here, because did they have a link to Wikimedia Wiki? This one goes to Meta. This one goes to... no, I don't want to translate this either. So I have been doing for a number of years adding according to this learning pattern, documenting your event experience. Sort of sounds like saying what am I planning to do and what am I doing. Sort of like a public, in real time note taking of the event. And I think I have my latest here. So I had some submissions, I made some podcasts, and each day where I went, and I have some thoughts about it, what I learned or what I'm taking with me to what I want to do next afterwards. And I actually come back to this a little bit more seldom now, but just weeks after. I had a tab open all the time to come back and see, hey, what am I doing next. So I thought that was really, really good. And that's sort of like, this one is mainly for myself, whereas this kind of report is mainly to the rest of the movement. And I think if one starts doing this during the actual conference, you can do this for anything, not just the Wikimedia. It will become much easier to sort of write this report afterwards, the blog post of, hey, what happened and how did I like it, or what did I learn? So this is sort of like written in the sense that like there's a question for each of these and then they collected it. I'm guessing because they traveled together or something like that. So, and of course, the big photo with a drone. Here I stand in the back. I was taking down my poster. All right, let's see. Do we have anything else here? Human rights on Wikipedia for the 3rd year. Oh, this is interesting because it's not connected to the Wiki for Human Rights, which is initiative mainly led from Wikimedia Foundation, but then sort of outsourced to local initiatives. But I think this is a separate one, because otherwise they should have used... yeah, and this is more like a writing contest. All right. So May throughout June, so about a month long. That's a good time for a writing contest. You get some time to do it. 33 participated. That's also very nice. And they created 99 articles, an average of 3 each, and expanding a bit more as well. So that is a lot of added content within just one topic space. All right, 2 meetings, 1 editathon, and an excursion. All right. Events in schools, online workshops. Oh, in cooperation with Amnesty International. I'm not sure we have done any content cooperation with them before, unless they're also in the Wiki for Human Rights somewhere. But that's very interesting. I think they've been in some panels together. I was surprised how easy editing was. All right. I'm pretty sure this says that they were using Visual Editor, because otherwise it's not that intuitive. But that's a good testament then. And then Wikimedia Czechia, Wikimedia Czech Republic, speaking, students, all right. That's the excursion. What did they actually do on their excursion? Perhaps taking photos. On Wikidata, there's a property for image of the grave or the burial place. So that's one thing one can do. It's a it's a fairly nice way to do a little excursion, because from a photo perspective, it's usually quite easy to plan what you want to take pictures of, and then also they're static and they're not large as buildings, so you don't need any special equipment, so it's fairly easy to photograph, or at least not super hard. Oh, they did some quality. All right. Oh, and here's also very interesting. So you can, in this plugin, you can specify which language Wikipedia you want to go to. So that's, even though they write here in English, Saint Sarah, they have. So this was tricky. How do I? There, Zvata Zara. Virtual metal for everyone. All right, very nice. Oh, and everyone got some discount in some sort of e-shop. All right, I'm guessing a bookshop. Oh, the interesting system. The most active, 2 to the new ones, 2 randomly selected. It's hard with this, with the competition aspect in article writing, because you don't want to reward someone to create a lot of bad stubs. So how do you measure the quality? And often having some judges or jury that are good at the content in the topic at hand will be very helpful. All right, so jury awards, very nice. All right, I think I will stop for the day here. As I said in the start, this is a new format for me. I will find my way eventually. I don't know how often I will do this. I had some time over and I had some interesting things to read, so that's why I wanted to try this out. And if you know, if anyone else has been doing this kind of live streaming in the Wikimedia movement, it would be very interesting to see something, because I quite enjoy these collaborative readings when I see other people doing them, especially when they can help to fill in some sort of gaps I don't have in a topic. So if you have enjoyed, please share with your friends, and otherwise, until next time, happy editing.